Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to A-level photography, and hopefully in the next couple of minutes, I'll just give you a nice broad outline of A-level photography and what to expect at the Open Academy. So yeah, why choose photography at A-level? Well, of course, if you've taken it at GCSE, you'll know it's an amazing course, and it allows you to quite almost literally make the course yourself. You decide at A-level photography what kind of subjects and themes and what kind of images you're going to create. So again, you quite literally make up your own course. It's incredibly individual, and you get to decide what you do. You are guided through the course, of course, as you'd expect, but within that, you would be expected to decide for yourself what you're going to be doing. So, you choose the theme, the subject matter, and the techniques you use in photography. So it's incredibly fulfilling, and you should get a lot out of it. And of course, photography, being a creative subject, is one of those subjects that lots of universities like to see on student CVs, and they will, if they see it on your CV when you go for an interview, they like to talk about it as well. So photography is a great subject to take. So yeah, in photography, when you start in year 12, and it is a 2-year course, you'll be graded just like you do in GCSE. So if you've done GCSE photography, you'll know you're graded with these 4 different assessment objectives. If you're not, if you haven't done GCSE, that's fine. So, we'll guide you through this as well when you start the course. But you're marked against your AO1, which is your developing, and most importantly, your written responses about other photographers' work. AO2 is your experimentation, AO3 is the photographs themselves, and AO4 are your final images. And those final images can be sprinkled throughout your book during the course as well. They're not just the final pieces you do right at the end of the course. In year 12, you will obviously be introduced to the course, but you'll spend most of your time in S25. That's upstairs in the Open Academy building. And this is a room that's full of PCs, and we use Photoshop CC, which is the latest version of Photoshop. We also have a studio outside the room, so you can use that. We have studio lights as well. Now, during year 12, I like the students to experiment as much as they can, and that's essentially how year 12 will be built upon. It's built upon the idea of just giving lots of different techniques a go. So in year 12, I'll introduce the students to darkroom photography, and they'll produce lots of film and images like this, like these photograms, which are a lot of fun to do, and they're a great way of introducing students to darkroom photography. But again, you'll be guided through how to use darkroom photography as well. Also, yes, we'll be looking at pinhole photography, which again is a great way of introducing students to the darkroom and film photography as well, which of course you will be doing in year 12 as part of your experimentation. Now, yes, in year 12, you will also be shown how to use your camera just a little bit more than maybe you did at GCSE. So, we'll be looking at things like aperture and shutter speed as well, so that when you're taking your photographs, you've got a really good understanding of how this camera works and how very often you can take lots of photographs without having to do too much editing in Photoshop. So yes, in year 12, we start the course by, yes, experimenting, and exploring lots of different techniques. But very quickly, we work into a theme, like a project, a sustained project. And at the moment, it's the built environment. So these students, they've started the built environment project by looking at the city centre. So when you look at this page here, this is the kind of typical page I would expect to see in students' book at A-level. So lots of annotation, lots of descriptions of what they're doing, lots of written elements explaining what the student is thinking and why they're doing this. And of course, as you can see, lots of links with other photographers so that their work has this foundation of understanding. So at the end of the year, when the moderator looks at their work, they've got a really good understanding of what the student is trying to achieve with their work. And you can see this student has flowed from the city centre and has finished this project by basing their last photo shoot in Masshold Heath. So your work throughout the year would be expected to develop as well. You'll finish this with an exam, but I'll show you a little bit more about what that exam should look like based on the year 13 work. Now, in year 13, your work becomes a lot more personal. Okay, so in year 12, I'll set lots of work, but in year 13, this is where you decide what you are going to do. So this student here decided that she was going to start by looking at Martin Parr, and she was going to base her work around the theme of documentary photography. So she decided that that was going to be her theme. Now, what I also get the students to do is to think about their like a more detailed kind of theme within the theme. So this student chose within documentary photography this sentence. So the damaged routine of everyday life. So every student in year 13 would be expected to just refine a little bit more but, on their title that they've chosen themselves. So yes, she chose Martin Parr, and she took herself to Great Yarmouth, and she took her first photo shoot based around documentary, really, and based around people kind of moving that town centre. And she also took herself to Cambridge. So this is a nice reflection of what we're expecting in year 13 as well. We're expecting students to be a lot more adventurous, not be too kind of, what's the word, centered around the school building. We expect our students to get out there and think creatively about what kind of photos they've taken. So this student, for example, yes, she went to Cambridge, and then she came back into Norwich City, and she went down Prince of Wales Road at night and took these great atmospheric photos. So in year 13, you can really see this student's work is developing. I mean, these are just a few selected pages from her book. I mean, she finished her personal project in year 13 with these images here, but these images have come a long way. So during year 13, we're expecting your work to develop quite a lot. And because this is a 2-year course, some of the students in year 13 will use some of their year 12 work and put it into year 13, and you can do that. That's absolutely fine. Now, yes, so like year 12, you'll finish the year with an exam, but of course in year 13, it's a little bit more important because this is the exam, of course, as well as the personal project that the moderator will mark. So this student, just like the personal project, came up with or selected one of the starting points, but they refined their work a little bit more with another sentence, just to make it just a little bit more kind of specific to what they're going to do, so the moderator can really understand what they're trying to achieve. Now, this student, yes, they kind of went down the documentary style as well, but he based his work around BMXing. So he was trying to capture that kind of the sense of life around BMXing, as well as sometimes skateboarding as well. So, when you do photography, like I said right at the beginning, this is about your personal interest as well. So we're not expecting students to do things that they're not really that kind of fussed about. We want to see students doing things like this, where they're taking photographs of things that they really and if we go back to the original student that we spoke about in year 13, she started her exam on walking, and she looked at this great photographer, Nick Turpin, looking at people on buses. And she got out there and she took photographs of people on buses. So again, in year 13, we're expecting you to be quite confident, try and get yourself out there and take some photographs, even if it means potentially putting yourself into, embarrassing situations where you might get funny looks from people. But still, if it means you can get these great photos, that's what we want you to do. So this is not about staying in school or college and basing your work around this building. We want to see you getting out there and taking photos. This student, as you can see there, she's got some rolls of film there. She also experimented a little bit with film photography as well, which of course, from year 12, is what we'd expect to see a little bit more from you in year 13. She then started developing her work into work about movement, and she looked at this photographer, which is a great example of movement, and she finished year 13 with this piece here. So your year 13 work really should be a complete culmination of the 2-year course. And like I said, it is a 2-year course, but hopefully at the end of it, you'll come up with some amazing images that you will keep forever, and images that, like I said at the beginning, you'll be able to use as part of your interview process for hopefully university or even a job as well. It's a really fulfilling course, and I hope you consider it seriously, because I think it is a great course to do. So hopefully I'll be able to welcome some of you at the start of the new academic year for the photography A level. Okay, thank you. Bye, guys.